I'm going to go ahead and get started. Um, First off, this is just a privilege to be sitting here on the line with Peace Prof. And I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Spuds. I work at FD in Denver, Colorado. So I'm based in our headquarters. And this session is part of FD's mindfulness series, where we provide free mindfulness resources for the FD community in hopes that it can support you or your loved ones wherever you are in your healing journey or your caregiving journey. And today, I'm really excited to introduce FD alum and mindfulness coach Alex, Peace Professor, Peace Prof for short is his nickname, Peavey. And I met Peace Prof at a rock climbing program in Estes Park, Colorado this past summer. And yeah, you just had, Peace Prof, you just had such a calm, abiding presence about you and such a groundedness kind of steeped in years of very evident mindfulness and meditation practice that impacted the group in such a significant and positive way. And just to share a little bit about your background, and then I'll hand it over to you. Peace Prof has practiced meditation since he was in high school and has taught it to others for the past 20 years. His training was conducted through UMass Medical Center under the tutelage of John Kabat-Zinn and George Mumford. Most of his work has been with high school, college, and professional athletes and teams, practicing mindfulness to support their performance and general peace of mind. And his meditation practice has been fundamental part of his own cancer journey, including 2 different terminal cancer diagnoses in the past 6 years. So thank you so much, Peace Prof, for joining us, and I'll let you introduce the class now and begin guiding us.
Thank you, Spuds. It's we were just talking as we hopped on here and people were coming on how surreal it is that our last face-to-face conversation was on the top of that rock on our last day with the whole group of so many of us are in this chat room and on the Zoom right now that made that summit that day. And I'm also amazed that you're saying I was so peaceful and calm, because it didn't feel like it on the inside but that was the fun, that was the joy. And that's why I love how mindfulness and performance go hand in hand, because it's not necessarily about not being nervous. It's about what you do when you are. So this isn't an antidote to the angst and nervousness we feel every day. It's what to do about it, and also how to not increase it. And again, just so grateful for everything the First Ascents program does for all of us, whether it's cancer, MS, or caregivers, the people you all impact. And I know me specifically in the group that I was with, how powerful it was to be surrounded people in the same boat and all facing some challenges together, both literally and figuratively. And then to get to do an activity like rock climbing was something I never imagined, certainly not 6 years into cancer. So it's a big hats off to First Ascents to make that possible. But and to then thank you, let me do this, because I'm so excited to share the idea of meditation as something not only that we'll do mostly tonight. I'll spend a good portion of tonight leading you through a guided practice. And I say we'll wrap up by 7:15. So if you're wondering how long do we have, what is the timing on this, we'll wrap at 7:15. And what I recommend right now, before I forget to say this, is maybe set a phone alarm for maybe 7:16, 7:17, on the outside chance you fall asleep. And not many speakers would say that at the beginning of a program, but we're about to do a guided meditation where my hope is you're finding your way to a place of relaxation. Sometimes that takes us all the way into sleep. And it's not that you failed at meditating because you fell asleep. It means your body just needed it at that moment. So don't think you did it wrong if you fell asleep. You actually listen to your body. And I can imagine most of us are probably tired. And with that being said, my challenge for you today, since we've all those of us who've been on First Ascents love a good challenge. Is if you can try, and not too hard, because we're not trying to fight off sleep, but if you find in the course of this guided meditation that you feel like you're about to fall asleep, my question or challenge to you at that moment is to simply ask yourself, don't even worry about what I'm saying, because I'll be guiding you through it. I want you to say, what does sleep feel like right now, or sleepfulness feel like right now? I want you to think about, where in your body does sleep first hit you? Where do you notice it? And just really dive into the experience of sleepfulness, and see if you can stay in that place rather than falling into sleep. And I can assure you, when you get there, if you do, there might be a moment where you don't know if you're asleep or awake, and that's good too. That's fine. And then on the flip side of that, some of us may get into this place of meditation and be like, sleep, what are you talking about? I have 4,000 thoughts going on at the same time in my head. What in the world do I do about that? Well, that's fine too. That is not failing at meditation. People think meditation is closing our eyes, doing this, and everything vanishes. Meditation is paying attention to what's happening at that moment. And I would say in intentional functional meditation would be paying attention to what's happening in that moment, and then not reacting in a way that is out of your own control as a result of that moment. It's this ability to be aware, to experience, and then move forward in a way that you choose. So that'll be something that we practice throughout this, what's called a body scan. But as I said, if thoughts enter your mind, what I want you to do is just, again, a big part of mindfulness is, to give it a definition, is, it's from John Kabat-Zinn. It's paying attention on purpose in the present moment with non-judgment. And that non-judgment piece is probably the hardest piece, because we're constantly judging. It's what we do. Is it hot? Is it cold? Is the chair hard, soft, whatever? I want you to just notice your thoughts as you're going through this practice. I may be talking to you about your shoulders in the middle of a meditation, and your mind might be thinking about something you have to do tomorrow. And that's okay. That's what happens. What I want you to do is to notice the thought and not continue it. Just notice it like you're observing it, and ask yourself, if I had that thought and I now notice it, did that thought land anywhere in my body? And what I mean by that is, sometimes when we get caught up in thoughts that are either uh, anxiety provoking or anger provoking or sadness, and all those things are okay to have. Those are part of being human, but we want to be able to experience them, let them go, and move forward when it's right to do so. And so if you have a thought, notice the thought and ask yourself, where in my body did that thought land? And I like to say, think of it as like a dartboard. I think something and it throws this dart, and oh, that went in my shoulders. Now my shoulders are tight. I'm not going to judge that. I'm just going to notice it, take a deep breath, and on my next exhale, let my shoulders drop. And so that's something that I want us to notice, that we're going to do throughout this practice, throughout our body: shoulders, jaw, knees, hands, forearms. We're going to be slowly going through each part of the body. And I want you to be noticing it, picturing it in your mind. Maybe you notice the muscle fibers. If you picture them being tense, what do they look like when they release and relax? Some people even picture a rope tied in a knot that slowly comes untied as they release their shoulders, or they release the muscles that sometimes tighten right in the front of our chest. So what I want you to do is, again, notice the physical without the judgment, which is really challenging. I can speak to it, again, with 2 cancers and lots of metastasis all over the place. There's certain parts of my body I get to, and it's not comfortable. And that's the reality of it. And what I want to do is notice it. Notice if anywhere else in my body feels differently because of it. Do my shoulders tense? Does my teeth clench? Do my fists clench? And if I do that, that's okay. Just notice it, and we're going to release it. So it's this practice of noticing and releasing without judging in the middle. And what we're going to find through the guided meditation is, we're allowing our body slowly to settle down. And if it doesn't settle down, that's okay. You haven't done it wrong. Just see if you can level it off where it is, so that you don't add tension to what's already there. And so the goal of why do we do this is that during our day, what we want to be able to do is notice the things that kind of throw darts at us, the things that push our buttons, the things that give us tension in the shoulders, so that over the course of the day, by the time that we get home at the end of the day, our back is hunched and our shoulders are clenched because of a day full of treatment or a tough day at work or whatever the thing was that got your shoulders there. But if during the course of the day, every now and then, you have something that reminds you to just notice your shoulders, breathe, and release them, it'll be so different at the end of that day because you won't be carrying the weight of every tension that you accumulated during that time period. And so see this tonight's meditation as a full body version of what we want to practice in short moments during the day. And during the day, the hardest part of the practice is, number one, remembering to do it, and number two, not judging when it happens. Again, if we get anxious, if we get stressed, if we get mad because of traffic jam or something that shouldn't make us mad, don't judge the judger, right? When we have a judgment, just notice it and find where the tension is in your body and release it. And that's ultimately our goal: is notice, don't judge, release. So I'm going to get us into the meditation now. But I wanted to give those thoughts of what the bigger picture is that we're doing and why, and how you can carry it into your everyday. For this meditation, I'll give you the option. It's really up to you. It's going to be something that we will do. Either you can do seated, and if you're choosing to sit, you could either sit, as I say, crisscross applesauce. You could sit in a chair with your feet flat on the floor. You could lay down. And if you lay down, what I recommend is lay flat on your back. I wouldn't lie on one side or the other unless there's a medical reason that requires you to lay or sit a certain way. The goal here is the way we sit and the way we lie during meditation. We want to be as neutral as possible, where we're using the least amount of muscles to hold us up, if that makes sense. So if I sit in a chair, I want to sit in a way that in 10 more minutes from now, I don't have to move to get comfortable. But I will say, if in the middle of the meditation you need to move, just move. There's no reason to hold a tight posture. Notice where you feel any discomfort, observe it, see if you could release it with the meditation, and then make the movement. And that's part of a mindful movement during a meditation. But so find your posture, figure out whether you want to be seated or lying on your back with your legs straight out. And figure out what you want to do with your arms. Again, I wouldn't have them tightly folded across my chest, because after a while that's going to get tiring and I'll have to move. I recommend either folded in your lap like this, or on top of your knees, or in the armrest of your chair. Or if you're lying on the ground, maybe they're by your sides, or maybe lightly resting on your stomach, and you can feel the stomach rise and fall with each breath. But again, find a posture that isn't some formula that a meditation teacher created. Find one that's right for you, that after a time period, you'll still be comfortable in it. And the next thing I'll say is what to do with the eyes. Here's where you make another kind of choose your own adventure. You can keep the eyes open, and if you choose to have your eyes open, that's perfectly fine. The way we do that in meditation is to let them close halfway so you still can see, and you're going to look down to right about where a book would be if you were reading, but there's no book there. You just look in that distance out in front of you and kind of let everything else go blurry, and you're just letting the eyes be halfway closed, halfway open. If you're comfortable with closing the eyes, what we do there is just gently let the eyelids shut on their own. And it's really important to tune in to how we close our eyes, or how we halfway close our eyes, to make sure we're not accidentally squinting and straining. This is that beginning of the practice of self-awareness of what my body's doing and what I can do about it. So just notice, what do your eyes feel like right now? And I mean your eyelids, your eyebrows, your forehead, the cheeks below your eyes. Just notice for a moment. If there's any tension in the face around that area, that's okay. Maybe from the day, maybe from this moment, whatever you feel is okay. I just want you to notice it. And see if you can soften the eyes, soften the eyebrows, soften the forehead, soften the cheeks, and even go down so that you soften the jaw. Sometimes we're clenching our teeth and we don't mean to, we don't know we're doing it. And so if the teeth drop open even by a millimeter, just the tiniest bit, the mouth will be closed, but the teeth are just slightly open, just so that we're not clenching. And just notice what a softened, relaxed face might feel like for a moment. And think about the eyebrows, the jaw, the forehead, the places we sometimes put some tension. And right now, just let go of that. Now I want you to notice the breath. And you can choose where to notice the breath from. Some of us like to notice the breath coming in and out of the tip of our nose. Noticing the breath going in is a little bit cool, and as it comes out, it's a little bit warmer. Or maybe your mouth is just slightly open and you breathe in and out of the mouth. Just notice there's not a right way or wrong way. We're just observing how we are breathing. It's a beautiful thing that the body does. Just notice it. And for the next couple moments, what we're going to do is take control of that breath. And we're going to take some deeper breaths, but breaths that are deep without straining. Again, it's all with loose, relaxed body. We're going to take that first deep, full breath in that goes, if possible, through the nose. But if not, you can go through your mouth. Go all the way down to your stomach. Let the stomach fill first, then the chest fills, and maybe even the shoulders rise, and follow that deep breath with a longer, slower exhale. Really slow that out breath down. If there's one thing to remember from night, it's if you choose to take a deep breath, like right now, do another one. Deep breath into the stomach, do it all the way to the stomach. And then make sure your out breath is just a bit longer than the in breath. Slow it down. That's what really shifts us sometimes from that fight or flight into a state of more relaxed awareness. Just notice that. Do that again. It's a deep, full breath to the stomach. The chest fills. The shoulders might rise. And then it's a long, slow exhale. When the time is right, do one more of those deep, full breaths all the way to the stomach. And as you exhale this time, what I want you to do at the end of the exhale is just let go of your breath. Let it go. Let the body do the breathing on its own. Allow that to happen on its own. Or if you're in a place where you want to take a couple other deep breaths, that's perfectly fine too. But when the time's right, find that last good exhale where you just let go of the breath and the body takes over. We're going to slowly shift away from that focus of breath, but at any point during this meditation, if you need to refocus the thoughts, the mind, the body, whatever, just ask yourself what the breath is doing, and you're allowed at any time to take one of those deep breaths in, followed by a slow breath out, and it's a great thing to do during your day as well. But right now, we're going to take all of our attention and bring it down into our feet, all the way down into the bottom of our feet, noticing the sense of touch. And again, trying to let go of judgment, because sometimes a sense of touch where our feet is, where our body are, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's hard. We're just noticing what our feet feel like without judgment. And see if you can picture your feet exactly as they are right now without judgment. Just noticing, almost like you're looking down from above, what the feet look like while noticing what they feel like. And in your next couple moments, just very intentionally release every muscle in your feet, from your toes to the arch to the heel to the top of the foot. Just release the feet to the point it almost might feel like they're melting into the floor, when really that's just us letting go of the muscles to let them sink into the floor. So what do feet look like as those muscles release and relax? What do feet feel like? And see if you can almost feel the blood flowing through your feet, or notice if you feel complete stillness in your feet. Whatever you feel is correct. It's just a practice of paying attention to it. And then just give those feet permission to be right where they are, to be still, and shift your focus up from the feet into your ankles, your calves, and all the way up to the knees. And see if you can notice this part of the body. And if you're lying on the floor, notice where your calves might be resting on the floor, or maybe one leg's touching the other, or the chair you're sitting in. Just notice without judgment the points of contact with the back of your leg at your calf muscle and your knee. Notice the air or the clothing touching your shin. And picture all the way inside to your leg, to the muscles of your calves. What do they look like right now? And what do they look like as you very intentionally release and relax the calf muscles? And do the same with your knees, the tendons and ligaments inside the knees, just loosening and relaxing and letting them be. And slowly move up from your knees into the quads and hamstrings and all the way up to our hips and waist. And just notice from your waist to your knees, without judgment, the points of contact that your legs make. See if you can picture these muscle groups like the quads and hamstrings, and see if you can release those muscle groups. We tend to walk on our legs throughout the day. Let's take a moment to release and relax them and let them be. Take the weight off of them. And I want to see if we can picture our legs from our waist down to our feet, just noticing what we notice, again without judgment, just noticing what's there and giving our legs permission just to be exactly as they are. See if we can grant them stillness and just allow them to be where they are, and then let go of the sensation of your legs. See if it almost disappears, while the picture and the image of your legs disappears from the mind as well. We slowly shift up more into the abdomen, into the core of our body, so you can notice your abdomen, your rib cage, your chest. And just notice again where we began, the breathing, the lungs, and how the chest moves. When I breathe, the chest expands. When I exhale, it goes back down. Maybe you notice the stomach slightly rising on the inhale and falling on the exhale. Just notice whatever you notice. And if there's any tension that exists anywhere in the core of your body, that's okay. It happens. Just notice it and see if we can release it, or at least just level it off right where it is. And then move from the core into our shoulders, and take note. Shoulders are an area, as we talked about before, that we tend to carry tension from our day without even knowing it. Sometimes it's like we have a backpack on when we don't. So take notice if we're using the muscles in our shoulders when we don't need to for this moment, and picture and feel what it feels like to release those shoulder muscles. Let the arms drop, let the shoulders drop, not into bad posture, but simply a state where they don't have to hold the tension. And then move down from the shoulders into the biceps, noticing those and releasing those, noticing the elbows and just keeping the elbows loose, in the forearms, allowing the muscle fibers of the forearms just to release, and bringing all of our attention into our hands. And without judgment, just noticing what we feel in our hands. We all feel different things, and some of us might not feel our hands at all, and that's fine too. Just notice what you feel, but give the hands permission for a moment to just be as they are, and see if you can picture them in your mind as they are. Not with judgment, just with awareness. I notice what my hands look like in my mind. I notice what my hands feel like right now. Then I just let the hands be, let the arms be, let the shoulders be, and I move back into my jaw, checking again to make sure I'm not clenching my teeth, noticing the forehead and the eyes, and asking again, am I squinting and squeezing them shut? But just notice each of those things, knowing there's not a right way and a wrong way. It's just a matter of observing and seeing if we can allow each thing to settle. And then move up, as I said, into the forehead. Sometimes we hold tension in our forehead, even all the way on the very top of our head. In our scalp, we can hold tension. Try to release and relax the top of our head so that from the top of our head to our fingertips, to our toes, we've given our body permission just to be right where it is. And in doing so, what I want us all to do is zoom out, almost like, again, we're looking down from above, and picture in your mind, not with judgment, just with this beautiful awareness of what does my body look like right now as it does nothing? And then pay attention on the inside. What does it feel like as it does nothing? So you're noticing from the top of your head to your bottom of your toes what the body feels like, what the body might even look like. And if you notice any place in the body that still holds tension, or maybe several places, just notice. Just notice, and then bring your focus to where you feel tension. Let go of judgment of the tension. And then when the next breath goes in, allow that breath on the way out to just release the tension with it. So I find any place in my body still holding tension. I notice it. I breathe in. And when I breathe out, naturally on my own, I release that tension. I picture that tension releasing, and I let that part of my body just be. And give yourself a moment where you allow gravity to do its job, where it keeps you on the floor and in your chair, and you allow the floor, the chair, or the bed, wherever you may be, to hold you up. And if you recognize that gravity is doing its job and the floor, the chair, or the bed is doing its job, at this moment, you have nothing you have to do but simply be right where you are. Give that permission to just be where you are and to just notice what that feels like. Not how it should feel, but how it does. And now for a brief moment, while allowing the body to be right where it is, what I want us to do is turn our attention with no judgment to our ears and the sense of sound. And just notice whatever it is you hear. Again, not good sounds and bad sounds and annoying sounds. They're all just sounds. Sounds don't care what we think of them. So why not just notice the sound and see if you can notice where you feel that sound in your body? Not good, not bad. Just notice, what do I hear and what do I feel? So I'll be quiet for a moment to allow us just to notice wherever you are, whatever room, whatever place you're in, without judgment. Notice the sounds as a chorus around you, each one being an opportunity to enter the present moment. So right now, just listen to those sounds that are given to you. Just remember that sound is always available to us. Just like paying attention to the breath or paying attention to the shoulders, or maybe it's our feet touching the ground. You can pay attention to sound without judgment to feel right where you are. slowly take that focus from sound and see if we can bring it all the way back down to our feet. What I want you to do is notice what your feet feel like without any judgment, just noticing that they're there, noticing what they feel like, and maybe in your mind picturing what they look like. And for the briefest moments, just slightest, see if you can barely move your toes, just the slightest bit. And notice what it feels like to move your toes, and then let your toes be still again. Let your feet be still again. And notice what it feels like to let your feet be still again. And then move that attention so that all of our awareness goes up the body, through the legs and the body, and to the arms and down into our hands. And just notice, where are your hands right now without any judgment? What does it feel like? And see if for a briefest of moments, just barely move your fingers just the slightest bit. And then let your fingers be still again. Noticing the difference between an active hand and fingers and a very still hand and fingers. And then let the hands go again. And slowly bring that attention from the hands up to the head and just noticing again, are my eyes soft? Is my jaw released? And for the slightest bit, just barely move your head, even if it's a millimeter, just to the right a little bit, just to the left a little bit, and back to center. And just notice the difference between an active body and a still body. And it's not right or wrong, good or bad. It's noticing both. We need both. So expand that awareness out again to the whole body. Picture the whole body. Be aware of the points of contact your body makes with the chair, with the floor. And I'm going to give us a couple minutes or so to just notice what we feel. Notice the sense of touch. Notice the sense of interoception, which is inside the body, and proprioception, which is outside the body. Just notice without judgment. And at the end of this meditation, I will ring a bell. I'll just ring it gently so that we hear it sound like a wind chime. And at that point, give yourself permission just a moment to allow the eyes to remain softened, but eventually we'll open them and we'll be aware of our surroundings in the room we're in. And if they're halfway open, we'll just open them all the way. But for now, let the body be. Notice what you feel, notice what you hear. And in a moment, I'll ring the bell that will tell us the meditation has come to a conclusion. And I'll give us a moment to find our way back out from meditation to the room we never left. And just notice the sound of that bell. Notice as it fades away. Notice what you feel as you hear that bell. And as the time is right for you, just slowly let the eyes open. If they were closed, gently open them all the way. If they were halfway closed, let them open more fully, and then move your attention into your hands and feet. And when the time's right for you, move your hands and feet a little bit, kind of like you're stretching after you wake up after a good sleep. And just again, notice what you feel. And I'll say, as you do this, that is a big practice within the practice, is just noticing what you feel and being able to notice it without reacting to it, so that then we can do something about it, whether it's a release of the shoulders or whatever it may be. But as you start moving your feet, as you start moving your hands, as you open your eyes, feel free, if you want, stand up, stretch, do whatever you need to do. But I want you to think about, as we did this meditation together as a group, if you fell asleep and are still asleep, you don't hear me. If you felt asleep during it, that's okay. Or if there was a moment you think you fell asleep, but you're not sure if you fell asleep, there's just this big gap where you're like, I don't know what happened. Here's a question I asked for you. So if you fell asleep, or if you think you fell asleep, or if you got into a really good, deep meditative place, can you remember what we were doing right before that? Like, what is the last thing you remember before you fell asleep in regards to, were we releasing the feet? Were we relaxing the knees? Were we relaxing the hands or the shoulders? Or was it the jaw? Or maybe it was the eyes at the very beginning. So I want you to think about where in your body we were focused on that you remember last, if you fell asleep, if you fell into that meditation. And if you didn't fall asleep, but you didn't hear me for the rest of the time, not because you were thinking of a million things, but because you had no thoughts and you were not hearing me. It's okay if you do not hear the person guiding the practice during the practice, if the focus is that inward. That's a beautiful thing. And so if any of those happen for you, again, think about what was the moment before. And so let's say, again, I always use the shoulders as an example. Let's say if in the middle of that meditation, I talked about, okay, everybody notice your shoulders, take a deep breath, relax the shoulders. If you don't remember anything after that, what I recommend is thinking about the shoulders as a place that might actually be a great grounding place meditatively, to where during the course of a day, if you're feeling tension, if you're feeling stress, you don't need a 25-30 minute body scan if you've been practicing in a way that allows you in that moment to say, oh yeah, let me pay attention to my shoulders. Take one of those good deep breaths all the way to the stomach. Feel the chest expand, the shoulders might rise, and then a long, slow breath out. And remember, I said in the meditation, we want the out breath to be longer than the in breath. So if it's the middle of the day and all of a sudden I get tension in my shoulders, it's a deep breath into the stomach and a longer, slower breath out. It's the slow out breath that actually triggers us into what would be more of a relaxation response, as opposed to the fight or flight response, which that's another topic of discussion. But it's recognizing we're basically working with the biology of our body. And what I always say is, when we notice tension, if you're like, oh wow, I just did that whole meditation and I didn't do it right because all I did was think the whole time. Well, if you notice that you were meditating on your thoughts. It just wasn't what we were doing. It wasn't wrong. It's just where you were. Or maybe you kept getting interrupted by thoughts. I want you to think of getting interrupted by thoughts or any of this as you practice it as kind of like your brain going to the weight room. If we go to the weight room and bench press, we work a muscle group that through time, the more I work that muscle group, the heavier I can lift. When we practice meditation, we're actually firing neurological pathways that over time it becomes easier to get to that place. So over time of meditation, you're going to find yourself during the course of the day being able to get to where you get in a meditation, but do it in one breath. What I like to do, and I'll use this kind of as an example of how do you bring your meditation to your everyday, and this will be how I'll wrap us up, is, okay, what do I do with that guided meditation? Well, what I recommend is I think this will be archived, and you can go back to it and play it as a recording, or just find them online. There are apps, there are free recordings on YouTube. You just want the right voice, the right guided meditation. And so that's perfect to have a guided meditation. Now, what does everyday life look like? You know, I find that if I come up with something that reminds me to meditate during my day, it's more helpful. So I use doorways. I've always used doorways my whole life. You're like, doorways, what's he talking about? Well, there's a door right there. Every time I start to approach a door, I see the frame of the door. And for me, the frame of a door is a reminder. It just simply reminds me. I see the door and I say to myself, what is my body doing right now? And I don't say, oh my gosh, what's my body doing right now? I just say door and I say, what's my body doing right now? Oh, my jaw is clenched again. I'm going to take a deep breath in, a long breath out, and I'm going to relax that jaw. And as I walk through that doorway, when I feel my foot touch the ground, I focus after I exhale, release my jaw. I touch my foot on the ground. I put all my focus in my foot touching the ground as I walk through that door. And for me, it's moving into the present moment. I'm literally walking through. And that was helpful for me because I did a lot of counseling, to where sometimes you have hard conversations in counseling. And I would be in a 50, 45-minute counseling session with another one to follow. And I always said sometimes someone would give me the hardest news they've ever given me in their life, and the person following them, who has no idea they're there, is going to give me the best news of their life. I want to be there for both. And so if the person I just met with was a really tough conversation, I would go out my door and come back in, whether it was to get the next person, go to the bathroom, get the water, whatever it was, to go through that doorway, to simply take a breath, notice the tension in my body, release it, and feel my feet touch the floor as I walk through the door. And it's like an 8-second meditation, all built in during the course of the day. And if someone's walking right next to me, I don't say, hold on, I'm meditating. I just do it. They don't know I'm doing it. And it's gotten to the point where I don't do it every doorway. It's usually the front door or a secondary door, but not all of them. But it gets to the point where I now don't do it for doors. I just do it because I feel it arise in me. And that would be an ultimate goal, is continue with a guided practice and find a way to bring it to your everyday practice, and use reminders like doorways that help you remember that the practice is all available to you with one breath, one breath, one breath. I hope tonight was helpful to you. I'm so grateful for all of you showing up and giving this an opportunity, whether you've meditated your whole life or this is the first time. What I always say, I hope somewhere in there you found, even if it was just one moment, I hope you found one moment of peace. And if you did not find it tonight, I hope you find that moment of peace somewhere in your future through this practice, or through a practice that's right for you. And I thank First Ascents again for the opportunity to do this, and for the amazing privilege of going on that trip out west this summer that really was helpful for me in my own mental health and physical health as I face cancer myself. And so thanks to all my FD partners that were out there with me on that trip. Thanks for coming on this. And all my friends all over the country that joined, and all the people I don't know, thanks for trusting me to let me guide you through a meditation. Much peace.
All right. Peace, Prof. Thank you so much. That was so grounding and rejuvenating, and such a special invitation to practice with you and with the entire group. Given that we're meeting virtually and not able to see or touch and connect with one another, I invite y'all to just share maybe an adjective of how that meditation made you feel. Calm or present or anxious. And any final notes you want to share with Peace Prof on your final goodbyes here with him and the entire group. I'll read a couple of these. Folks are saying they're feeling grounded, lighter, lightful, relaxed, hopeful, whole, peaceful, wonderful,
Mm. Wow.
heavy.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah, this is space for it all, right?
It's all, yeah, it's my favorite. It's such a great question you ask. I always love to just ask myself after a meditation, what did I notice? And there's no wrong answer there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Be sure to check out First Ascent's YouTube page to access more free mindfulness resources. And we hope you all had a really lovely evening. And it was such a privilege to get to spend the evening with you, Professor. Thank you so much. And
Thanks, both.
good night, everybody.
Good night.